Hi guys, Rev here. Just finished watching the Glee episode, The Quarterback, the big Cory Montieth tribute episode. And I said to myself last night before it was on, I said, now, this will be the test as to how good the writers can handle this. Because the circumstances surrounding Cory Montieth's death were very tragic. It was very unfortunate. I was very surprised to hear about it back in July. Uh, it was devastating. I mean, he was a young guy. He was probably only about 5 years older than me, which it's scary when you think about it. But then when I found out they were going to handle the death of his character on the show, I said, now, how are they going to do it the right way? Are they going to address how Monteith died in relation to how the character Finn died? Or how would they handle it? Because it's such a difficult subject to work with. And they handled it well. I say they handled it well in the sense that they did not address how Finn died. They did not address exactly how Finn died. They don't imply it was one way or the other. The only thing we know is that he died suddenly, and it was a tragic loss. The whole episode is about how everyone else who was close to him was dealing with his death. And that is how you do it the right way. They didn't try to eulogize him in the episode blatantly, which I thought was great in that regard, because there's times you see that happen in TV and it paints the whole episode and makes it really hard. What we got was real emotion from the people. Nope, they didn't focus on the new characters. I'm not familiar with them because I kind of tuned out all of last season, but they focused on the major ones that Finn interacted with over his time with them. I say Finn because they were talking about the character, not Cory Monteith, the actor who played Finn. I mean, they focused on Mercedes. They focused on Kurt. They focused on Puck. They focused on Santana. They focused on Rachel, Mr. Shu, and Coach Sylvester. They focused on the main ones. Each of them got their own piece of respective screen time in amongst it all, and they each had a different perspective in which they were coming from. I mean, Kurt was coming from the perspective of, I lost a brother, and I find it hard to believe, but I'm going to do what I can to move on. And he handled it very well. Mercedes pretty much got it all out in one song. She said, I had my chance to cry, now is my chance to do this for the Glee Club. Santana was trying to keep her very tough exterior. She tried so hard, and she felt so bad if she started to cry around everyone to show that she actually felt so terrible about what happened, that it was really affecting her and who she was. So she handled it very well. Rachel, she didn't get too much screen time, but at the same time, I would call that very considerate to Leah Michele, just because their on-screen relationship and there was a real-life relationship in amongst it all. So they didn't force too much on her. She came out, she sang her song, she had her scene with Mr. Shu, saying now she needs to find a new life plan. As hard as it's going to be, she is willing to do that, which is strong for her. Coach Sylvester, again, is the same thing, kind of as Santana, the very tough exterior, and then all of a sudden she has this huge regret that she was never able to tell Finn how much she actually respected him, wanted to work with him for years. I thought Jane Lynch handles the role very, very well. I really enjoy her. The two main characters that I want to focus on primarily for this little vlog right quick are Puck and Mr. Shoe. Puck is handling it very hard because he doesn't have an identity without Finn being the fearless leader. So Puck has to completely figure out who he is and where he's going to go without the voice telling him he's on the right path, without the voice to help give him the extra push if he needs it. And that is a difficult thing to do. That's a very difficult thing to do for someone like that. And as well, then we have Mr. Shoe. And I can kind of relate to where Mr. Shoe was coming from, because I've kind of been in that situation myself. How you're being strong for everybody. And you just want that one moment when no one else is around, how you need it, to just sit back and let the emotion sink in and to let it all out. Because grief is hard. It happens to all of us. And that is what they wanted to portray with the episode, I felt. That all the characters had to grieve. All the characters needed to let out their feelings. And I was doing some reading while the commercials were on. And they were saying how most of the scenes were taken from one take so that they would be real. And I applaud the creators of Glee for this episode. I thought it was handled very well, very professionally, very maturely. You did not turn it into a drugs are bad episode, which they could have done. It would have been predictable and have made sense if they did do that just because of the circumstances surrounding Cory Montieth's death. They could have turned it into a 1-hour public service announcement, but they didn't. They turned it into an episode where all the characters got to show a different side of the grieving process, relatable to how they were feeling on and off the set. They got the chance to express their feelings. They didn't eulogize the character of Finn. There were moments. There were moments when, yes, they were doing that. They were talking about the memories they have of him. But those memory scenes were overshadowed by the coping scenes, which is what the characters needed to do. It's one thing for the actors and actresses on the show to publicly come out and talk about Cory Monteith, the actor. But we have known these people as these characters for the past 4 years. How do the characters feel about the loss of one of their own? And that is what was happening. There were some other little points throughout with some of the other characters. How Tina felt she was reverting to goth because she was wearing black because she was sad. They didn't really touch on that too much. I'm glad they didn't, because to me that just came across as old school grieving methods of wearing black until you were done grieving. And it just came off as odd, especially in comparison to everyone else. I applaud the creators for this. They handled it well. What the critics will have to say about it, I don't know, because maybe they thought it would be in proper flashbacks. There were no flashbacks, which was huge. I was surprised by that. I almost forgot to mention. There were no flashbacks to previous episodes. Unbelievable. And one scene I really do have to touch on. I could touch on Mr. Shoe's breakdown at the end. I could talk about that, but I won't, because that was a good scene, and that was a scene that needed to happen, and you knew it would happen at some point. I'm glad they waited until the end with it. I want to talk about the scene with Kurt, with his father and Finn's mother. The scene where they're looking at what they're going to pack up, what they're going to keep. donate, throw away, anything like that. And the emotion in that scene was so real. How Kurt's father was saying, I wish I had hugged him more. I wish I had been more of a father in that regard. And how his mother was saying that she doesn't see how parents can do it. And it's a true statement. It is so true. Exactly what she was saying. In the morning, you wake up and there's that moment you forget it's happened. But then you realize it has happened and you wonder how you can go on being a parent knowing you have lost a child. It's powerful stuff. It's really powerful, and I think they handled it well. They didn't blatantly point out answers to the grieving process. They didn't say, well, here's how you're feeling, here's how to move on. They just let them get it out. And when it comes to grieving, I've conducted seminars, well, a seminar over a few weeks, on the grieving process. And everything in those seminars is not about finding answers. It's about saying, you're feeling how you're feeling. That is normal. Grieve how you have to grieve. But remember, there are people around you who are willing to help you grieve. And that is what this episode conveyed perfectly. That being said, I thought there were some parts of it that didn't handle it well, that were kind of touched on, but then put off to the side. For example, the scene with Tina. I didn't think that was handled well. However, given the character dynamic of Miss Pillsbury, I don't know if she goes by Miss Pillsbury. Excuse me. She goes by Miss Pillsbury, Mrs. Pillsbury, or Mrs. Schuster. I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't care. It's her choice. But given how she is sometimes when it comes to tackling big issues, she kind of just like, here's a pamphlet. And she's been like that over the course of the series. And in that sense, it worked. But again, it's one of those things, you can handle it or you can ignore it. And that was the kind of thing that was ignored, which sometimes happens in grieving. It sometimes happens. So in that regard, it was handled well. But trying to put the emphasis on, this is a character of the Glee Club, one of the originals who was with Finn. You should have spent a little more time on her. But the time they spent with the characters they did spend was great development and a great outlet for them to let out their feelings. What did you think of this episode of Glee? I want to know your thoughts, your feelings. If you thought it was absolute crap and they handled it terribly, well, I mean, that's your opinion. Comment down below and say, yeah, they handled it poorly. If you thought they handled it well, comment below and let me know. It's the same. Your thoughts are your thoughts, and there's no right nor wrong answer to this. I just want to discuss this. So, maybe next time I'll have a vlog. Maybe next time I'll have a toy review like the one I've been working on there. But until next time, this is the Red signing off. Have a great night, everybody.